What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Javier Polito asks if we could see the last stand of the Jedi in the upcoming Fallen Order video game.
So the last stand is something that was just mentioned, I think, once in Aftermath Life Debt, and we don't know much about it except that there were some Jedi holed up in like a mountain fortress, and then the Imperials led like just some sort of strike against them. It sounds interesting, and I actually think that would be a great idea to bring back for Fallen Order. I wish I had thought of it one day ago, because just yesterday I did a video about things that I think might pop up in Fallen Order. That was mostly about the Darth Vader comic, but still, I think that's a really interesting thing to explore, and it would be neat to see that kind of firsthand.
Yeah. What Jedi do you think we would be surprised to see?
I think Oppo Rancisis would be a good candidate to show up. We know that he's a survivor. Quinlan Voss, I feel like he should get, I don't know, his own thing. But Oppo Rancisis is someone that we don't know a whole lot about, so he would be a nice addition to the cast of the game, I think.
Alden Diaz wants to know if Episode 9 left loose ends to the story. Would that disappoint us or excite us?
It depends on the loose end.
Yeah. If it's like a big loose end, I might be a little bit disappointed, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I want there to be closure for the characters. Not just the new characters, but like the Skywalkers as a whole. I think as long as there is closure for the Skywalkers, I will be satisfied. But if they do something like Star Wars Rebels did, where I really like that finale, but they definitely left some loose ends open. If they do something like that where, well, Kylo Ren's just lost in the galaxy somewhere, I'll be like, no. Like, I won't be happy with that.
Whether or not he gets redeemed or killed, I agree. Kylo Ren needs an ending to his story.
Yeah.
But, like, if they leave a loose end as far as, like, where the Jedi are going to go from here, what Rey's going to do from there, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as well. Like, I'm okay with them teasing little things like, here's what we could do in the future of Star Wars storytelling, as long as the story told by the sequels, which I think is largely kind of up to Kylo Ren, and whether or not he is redeemed, and the baggage with his family, his relationship with Rey. That's what I think needs to be like firmly done. Everything that has to do with the Skywalkers. So Anakin, Luke, Leia, and Ben Solo.
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to have no ambiguity, concrete ending.
Yeah. And I hope we get a good, solid story ending for Leia. I don't know what that is or what I want it to be, but I don't know. I trust JJ to do a good job with it, but I'm nervous for that.
I'm nervous for that as well. That's the biggest thing I'm nervous for, is that they have like this set amount of footage that they can use for her. And I want it to be a good, solid ending for Leia, and one worthy of Carrie. And when you just have like, this is what we have, I don't know. I'm really hopeful that they were able to work with it, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Christian Hardesky asks how soon we think we could get some content with Older Jedi. So he specifically said around the time when the temple on Lothal was built, which we don't know when that was built. But...
Yeah. Considering it had like the Force wielders painted on it, I'm guessing that's pretty ancient. Like maybe even Old Republic era, like what we classically think of as Old Republic, which I would say is like between 4,000 and 1,000 years before the movies. I think that we're probably... So let's say that the Lothal Temple is ancient stuff. I think it might be a minute before we get into that stuff. I would like to explore it, like everything set up with Octo and Jedha. I'm really anxious to see that, but I guess I'm thinking... I still don't know why I had this in my head that Benioff and Weiss will do Old Republic stuff.
That's what I was going to say. I think everybody is thinking that just because it could be so similar to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, just their history. It's like we know that they can handle this kind of mythology. I guess it's a mythology's mythology almost, but yeah. So I think they're probably going to handle the 1,000 to 4,000 year range, and then anything older than that, I think it's probably going to be a while. And I don't know that we're ever going to explore that temple.
Yeah.
And who built it. It might just be a mystery forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'd honestly, like we said before, I'd want to know more about the temple on Octo or Jeddah.
I'm
personally.
Also, knowing that the Force wielders are kind of involved with Lothal, I don't ever want to get too concrete with them. I think that they work better left in vague terms.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and as far as the world between worlds,
kind of the same thing for
me. Yeah, I don't know if we'll really see much of that again, at least not for quite a while.
I mean, I love the world between worlds, but I think it's something that needs to be handled with a lot of care and like just be careful with it because it could get into the all right, that's just world breaking stuff.
Yeah. And honestly, I would prefer it to just stay where it is, and because it's what makes that part of Rebels really special. So
I agree. Like, I would be fine if we never saw it again. I would also be like very excited if it popped up, but I'm okay if they don't touch it anymore.
Thomas Sholin wants to know how we think Season 1 of Resistance has compared to the first seasons of The Clone Wars and Rebels.
So far, I have really enjoyed it. Now, this came up this past week because it's the 1 year anniversary of Rebels ending. And so on Twitter, there was this whole hashtag Rebels Remembered thing. I credit Rebels with me having a much more open mind about Star Wars. Because when I first saw the key art for the show, I was like, ugh, I don't like this design. It looks too kiddie, too goofy. I don't like the main character. Like, if that sounds familiar, it's literally like all of the main complaints people have had about Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this channel and I've committed to watch and read everything Star Wars, so I'm going to give it a shot. And I wound up falling in love with Rebels. It did take me, I would say, like, I didn't love it until the end of season 2, but I was enjoying it and looking forward to it every week. And that's where I'm at with Resistance right now.
Mm-hmm.
Except I would say that maybe I'm more excited, especially now at the end of the first season. But I think part of that is just because I've come to just set my expectations better as an adult, that these kids shows, season 1 of Rebels, pretty goofy at the start.
Yeah.
Season 1 of Clone Wars, pretty goofy at the start. Like, you roll with it, and mm-hmm. it grows up with the audience.
Yeah. In terms of, like, how Star Wars-y they all feel, obviously the Clone Wars feels the most like Star Wars, and then Rebels because you have Jedi, and then Resistance is so different, but because the story is leading into one of the theatrically released movies, it's like, I don't know, the progression of my excitement for this first season of Resistance has been pretty significant. Like, I've been really, really excited to see the end of the season and where they go, like, into the movie.
I think that's a good point that, yeah, Resistance doesn't feel as immediately Star Wars-y because, yeah, Clone Wars has Jedi left and right. Rebels has a couple Jedi, and it also leads into Rogue One and A New Hope, and you see these pieces starting to come together. Resistance is kind of its own thing. Like, there are no Jedi, mm-hmm. which makes sense, but it also is leading into The Force Awakens much faster. And, like, Poe pops up every now and then, stuff like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I've been getting a kick out of it. It's been better than I thought it would be. I'll say that. Like, I was kind of skeptical of it at first, but I was like, of course I'm going to give this a shot after what happened with Rebels. And I've been feeling very similar as we go through the first season.
Yeah. Lord Hosk asks if we've had any surprises come up in our Clone Wars rewatch.
I chose this question because it was very much related to the last question. We're on basically season 1 of our Clone Wars rewatch. Like, most of the episodes are season 1 anyway. And I have been surprised, I guess, at how much I enjoyed season 1. Like, my memory of it was like, oh, this is the goofy season. And certainly there are some very goofy episodes. It's got some Jar Jar heavy storylines. But overall, like, I forgot how many episodes I really, really liked were in season 1. When I think of my favorite episodes, most of them are in the later seasons. But season 1's really solid.
Yeah. I guess for me, the most surprise that I've felt rewatching them is how political a lot of the episodes are. Like, people say that there are no politics in Star Wars. Come on.
They've always been political.
Come on.
Even, yeah.
Watch Clone Wars and really think about the themes of the episodes and tell me that there's no politics in this show.
This kids show has some pretty heavy-handed politics in it.
Yeah.
And
so
I was going to say, that's you saying, like, really focus on the themes. That's something that we're doing that I've never really done that before, where we're looking at the fortune cookie at the start and saying, okay, how did they portray this throughout the episode? And that's been really fun.
Yeah, and it's also, like, it's making me appreciate the writing so much more by taking, okay, what are they saying at the beginning? Did they make that happen? Did they, properly explain the theme of that episode? And so far, it's been doing pretty good.
And I would also say that there are a lot of moments now that, like, we've seen The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Solo, not so much Solo, but there are a lot of thematic through lines that I'm like, oh, they talk about that in Rogue One. They talk about that in The Last Jedi. Like, they have a lot of the same values. Yeah,
Rose's line of saving what you love, not fighting what you hate, that's
come up multiple times.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been eye-opening and different to experience it in this new era of Star Wars. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars explained content like audio commentaries for the films and for the Clone Wars that we just talked about. We're going back through chronologically and we're doing commentaries for all of them as well. And this week's episode is Trespass, which is a political one and also one that I like quite a bit. So you can check that out right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Bobby the Brony Gamer asks if we think Shmi Skywalker was a part of a Force-based religion.
I don't know. I mean, in his question, he does say that she seems like pretty jazzed that Anakin is joining the Jedi.
Pretty jazzed.
Yeah, pretty jazzed is how she put it.
Yeah.
I think that she was probably just excited that her son is going to have a better life than he had. But I don't think that she was, like, I don't know, not part of any faith. She does seem to have kind of a spiritual side to her.
Yeah, and you'd kind of have to if you were impregnated by this mysterious entity.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you have a baby.
That's true.
And the baby's really good at stuff. And you're like...
What's going on here? Yeah, that's a good point.
You gotta chalk it up to something.
Yeah, so I think that she probably believed in something, whether or not it was the Force. I think that's probably the most likely. I mean, she knew who the Jedi were. I'm sure she knows about the Force. So, yeah, it was probably Force-related, but...
Yeah, I mean, and she knew that he was important and that he had a destiny, and she didn't know what it was until the Jedi showed up and took an interest in him, and she was like, all right, well, this is what you were given to me for.
Yeah, I think all the pieces line up, and she was, like, ready and willing to give up her son to go and fulfill his destiny. So, yeah, I think she probably had to believe in something.
Yeah. Stir wants to know if we think Kaz will continue living on the Colossus in the second season of Resistance. Well, if it jumps out of the water and becomes a space station, like Alex seems to think it will, I think they'll be living in space somewhere.
Yeah, that's my responsible speculation. I think that, as someone on Twitter pointed out, that the Colossus is probably a space station that is mostly submerged in water, and we've just seen the very top portion of it. They've kind of made a point to show us that it is huge underwater. Mm-hmm. I think it is going to be revealed that it will fly out of Castellon, and then it's going to be a mobile space station and hub for Kaz's crew. Whether that's like more of the Resistance, or maybe the Resistance will join them and we'll get like Finn and Rey. And we talked about this a week or two ago, where like these characters could be around more often.
Yeah.
And that would allow them from a production standpoint to explore the galaxy, but still keep all these assets that they developed for season 1.
Yeah, I think because of the involvement of the First Order throughout season 1, and now it's all kind of coming to a head, they can't stay on Colossus.
Well, they can't stay on Castellon.
But yeah, I think that it is going to end up moving into space, and they're going to have to be kind of on the run. And I actually hope that the pirates go with them.
I think they will.
I think they will too. I think they kind of hinted at that at the last episode. But...
I think Sonara is probably going to kick Kragan off the ship and take control and be like, we're going to help.
Yeah.
And you guys can follow Kragan or follow me.
Yeah. Or, yeah, she could convince him to help everybody for the greater good, because I'm sure the First Order is causing problems for them too.
Yeah, well, I mean, they already did, so maybe Kragan wants some revenge. But yeah, I really like that idea, and also following in Star Wars Rebels' footsteps. That show was very much located on Lothal in season 1. They left it a handful of times, like Resistance has. A handful of times Kaz has gone on missions with Poe. And then in season 2, they joined the larger rebellion, and they went kind of planet hopping. Mm-hmm. So we saw a lot more of the galaxy. I think we're going to see a similar structure where season 1 is located on this water planet. It's easy on the budget. We can see what kind of audience this show gets. And now for season 2, we know what to expect. We can expand the budget. We can do more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Kaz will still live on the Colossus, but the Colossus will not still live on Castellon.
Yeah. Carlisle, the cinephile, asks if we're going to make our own character backstories when we visit Galaxy's Edge. You bet we will.
I hadn't thought of that until this question, but...
Oh, hell yeah. I'm getting into it.
I think that we should, right before we step into the park, get one of those like random name generators out and just hit randomize. And the first thing that pops up, that's your name.
Yeah.
And you got to stick with it,
I
even
have
if
to
it
stick
sucks.
With it? Okay.
Even if your name is like Peepaw Blap. Like, that's your name now. And you got to stick with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we're definitely going to vlog our entire trip when we do go there, so...
And the dates were literally just announced right before we started recording this.
But yeah, I plan to be in character for as much of the time as we spend there as possible, because that's how the park wants you to spend your time there.
That's what I'm going to try to do too, because I'm an improv master now.
That's right. He's been taking improv classes, and he's been...
I'm going to yes and all over the park. I'm going to be, hello, Batu resident. Teach me your lore, and I'll just roll with it.
Yeah. You and all the dads.
Yeah, me and my fanny pack.
Nether Spark wants to know if Palpatine was a chosen one for the dark side.
I think that is probably... There's at least a case to be made. Darth Bane in the Legends Darth Bane books was a chosen one, or at least people thought he might be, for the dark side, for the Sith. If the Jedi get chosen ones, why can't Palpatine be one? Like,
yeah, the Sith. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was super good at manipulating everything, and super good at having all the plans, and all the backup plans, and all the backup plans.
And I mean, I like the newer term that they seem to be using, like vessels for the Force. There isn't a chosen one. There are multiple chosen ones, and Anakin was like a specific chosen one of prophecy, but vessel for the Force, I like that, because then it's a little more open. And yeah, I think Palpatine probably was a vessel for the Force.
Yeah.
I think that the Cosmic Force probably knew what was going on and like maybe the Jedi had gotten too big for their britches. And the Cosmic Force was like, we need to take them down a peg.
So the universe was too good.
Maybe.
Stuff was just going too well.
We got to throw a little chaos in there.
Throw a wrench in it.
I mean, maybe that's what George Lucas's like sequel trilogy, he talked about how he was going to explore the midichlorians, and I think the idea of destiny and predetermination and like who really is in control, where that kind of stuff does interest me. When he says I was going to get really deep into the midichlorians, it's like people's first reaction is like, whoa.
Oh, the blood thing? Really?
Like, we're bringing that back? But the idea that the midichlorians are trying to control things, and like, is it possible to fight destiny? It's kind of a Matrix sort of way of looking at things.
Yeah.
But I would be interested to read that treatment.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. I feel like I say this all the time on Q&As. I hope we get a Palpatine backstory book with Plagueis.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, that's basically what the Darth Plagueis book was. It went into Plagueis and Palpatine. It was a lot about how Plagueis was like, I don't know, finding and training this savant, and then at the end, like, Palpatine had already been up to his manipulative ways and was manipulating Plagueis the whole time, and there's this Kaiser Soze moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want that kind of story again.
Yeah, and someone actually brought up on Twitter today about the history of Naboo, and they talk about that a little bit, and Palpatine growing up there in Queen's Shadow. So I feel like that's a perfect kind of like jumping off point of like, hey, there's a story to be told there somewhere.
I agree. Get James Luceno back. Let's do Darth Plagueis again.
Yeah.
Just, if it's the same book, I wouldn't even complain. I'd read it again.
Matthew Kelly asks if there are any planets in Star Wars that forbid or hate Force sensitives.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. For some reason, that idea does sound a little familiar. But either way, I like the idea. I think it would be interesting to explore.
Yeah. I mean, we see, like, the Lurmans, that they didn't really hate Force sensitives, but they didn't want anything to do with the Jedi because of the Clone Wars.
Right. And exploring something like that further, I think, would be cool.
Yeah.
Being like, you Force users mess up everything all the time. Like, if you guys could just chill out,
Yeah.
maybe the rest of us could relax.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And often war, I guess.
And yeah, often lots of trouble. So yeah, I feel like the normal everyday Star Wars person / alien is probably like, those weirdos can stay off my lawn.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a really cool idea.
I'm gonna make a shirt that says that.
Jedi, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put them in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.